and
I never heard that before.
Okay.
And
That
I
was
have to
great.
continue.
Like Big
Came up
Brother
on
is
my
watching
computer. That was
us.
weird.
Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded. Hey kids, we're continuing Marvel Monday. We're watching all 23 Marvel movies in the order they were released. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman. She ate a Tesseract. What? That was this big. Also a newbie, Joel Fenster, who is showing a different Captain Marvel on his screen. Mark Gartner, who has the one we've seen this week. And Mary, who does your hair. And Annie rushed back from the beach to be with us today. And Nick Prescott, AKA Nick the Brit, is actually at a party right now. And it's marvelous.
It is marvelous.
All right.
Cheers.
Sorry, I left. I
Red
wanted
Solo
to get
cups.
this-
It must be a real fancy party.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to
Alright.
get this and show it. Oh, you can't see it. Never mind.
You got.
You have to put it in front of your person.
You have to put your own face there.
Yeah. Yeah. What are we looking at?
This came with the popcorn.
It says,
Ay, ay, ay. It's just too hard up close.
Just read it.
That's
Are
what
you
she
still
said.
giving
What?
props to Janice?
I'm giving props from last week to Janice. There you
It's
go.
so, it's
There
so
you
last
lose it.
week. That's so last week.
Enjoy this amazing popcorn watching the MCU movies from Janice Maine. Oh, there you go. I just thought that was nice and nobody mentioned it last
One
week.
of us knows how to work the
Yeah,
camera.
of course we said thank you to Janice.
I mean, nobody mentioned the cute little card.
Oh.
But you know,
excuse me.
popcorn was good enough that I'd be willing to thank her again this week.
Absolutely.
That was some
Still
good
eating it.
popcorn. Okay, here we are. Number 21, MCU number 21 is Captain Marvel from 2019. And it's the Who Cares chapter in the phase that makes no sense of MCU. We start as always with last week's after credit sequence. Ant-Man gets shrunk, then everyone who could bring him back disappears, obviously to be continued next week, right? Yes?
Spoiler alert, but yeah.
Spoiler alert. Okay, moving on. Okay. You know, I've complained about the Marvel logo for so long, but the one this week with the whole Stan Lee little homage was very nice. Was very sweet.
Mhm.
As much as he was annoying, even in this movie. Okay,
This
so
I think that was his favorite. That was his favorite cameo, I believe.
with the more rats,
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the first movie he was really in.
because he did a cameo in more
It's
rats.
not really-
big-
I wouldn't call it a cameo in Mallrats. He's got a, I mean, it's not a lot of screen time, but it's an important part of that film.
Agreed.
That line that he said in this movie was dubbed from Mallrats because he was too weak to say his line this time.
Wow,
I did not know that.
I did not.
It was
know
in
that.
the trivia.
But Mallrats was the same year, 1995.
Four.
Yeah, four.
Four. And he's still reading the script a year later? All right. Okay,
No,
so here we go. Okay, so Joel. Was
Yeah.
Captain Marvel always a woman, or should I say Captain Marvel?
Okay, so Carol Danvers in the comic books is the fifth or sixth person to actually use the name Captain Marvel. Behind me is the original Captain Marvel, who was published by Fawcett Comics in the 40s until DC sued them and they went out of business. And then
Damn.
DC eventually bought the entire rights to all the Fawcett characters. But because by that point, Marvel Comics was now Marvel Comics and had their own Captain Marvel, they were no longer allowed to publish comics called Captain Marvel. He could be called Captain Marvel inside the comic book, but the
not-
books were all called Shazam,
yeah,
because that's
Shazam,
what he
which was
yeah,
also a cute movie.
said. Shazam turned into, yeah. So, but Captain Marvel in the comics was first Captain Marvel. I forget his first name. The Annette Bening character in this film is based off of that character, but
Yeah,
was
they've
male
done that a lot. They've
initially.
done that a lot with the MCU movies, right? They
Yeah, yep.
they would do a little bit with the older character, and then the younger character was the one we were focusing on.
exactly. And that's kind of done here too. That Captain Marvel in the comic books is died of cancer, and as far as I know, is still dead. one of the few comic book deaths that
Wow.
like stuck. So, but Carol Danvers was originally a character named Miss Marvel. And then she used some other names, and then she eventually became Captain Marvel. This is a part of the Marvel universe that I just never really got that much into, so that's all I can tell you.
I know that totally clears things up. Then, okay, so the
Oh,
opening, no, it
one quick
does.
thing,
So
one-
she's number 5.
Yeah, but one quick other thing. Lashana Lynch's character in this film, Maria Rambeau, her daughter, Monica, is the second Captain Marvel in the Marvel Comics universe.
Wait, second. She came after Carol Danvers.
No, she was Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers.
Okay.
She's
May have
awful
been
young.
third, but she's definitely before Carol Danvers was Captain Marvel, because she was Captain Marvel in the 80s runs of the Avengers, and Carol Danvers didn't become Captain Marvel until
The
the late
90s.
80s, early 90s. So,
No. Well, I don't want to go on a runaway train here, but I thought she was binary when I was reading, and she had already had her powers stolen by Rogue from the X-Men and all that stuff. I thought that was all
Well,
afterwards.
she all had the powers. She had the powers all the time when she was Miss Marvel and Binary and Irving and Seymour and Sydney and whatever else came before Captain Marvel for her, but she wasn't officially Captain Marvel till much later.
And then she became non-binary.
There you go. Yes.
Okay, so
So now we've lost all of our viewers for the week. But
So you can talk about Loki. That was the whole setup.
yeah, hello, it was your
Yeah.
chance. All right, the opening frame, I always talk about this too. It says the city's importance, and now we get some bullshit numbers and letters. Now they're just messing with us. They're like, haha, you're an idiot for even looking at this.
So you know where they're in space.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, there was so much exposition in this movie, so many names and places. I was like confused from the get-go. AIM?
I looked at the IMDb synopsis as I was watching, so it was actually okay. And then I went back because then,
So you-
then it was much more clear.
You kept referencing.
Yeah.
And then try and keep track of who's fighting who in that dust battle. That was ridiculous. It was like the purple versus the green. It was a little hard to follow as well. And it was tough not to fast forward. I'm like, who cares? Let's keep going. This is too much. And then, is it me or did the whole next section was like a commercial for the Air Force, like Top Gun was in the 1980s? It was.
a little bit.
It was. And then it was there was so many times when this whole section where they were like showing us all these examples of her being not good enough. I'm like, do we need 12 examples? We get it. We get it. She's going to overcome all of this. Move on. And are we supposed to find it funny that she lands in the Blockbuster store, Joel?
I don't find that funny at all.
Yeah. And there was like, I don't know how any Blockbuster was organized, but there were some titles that were like, I'm like, how are comedies with dramas with this? They just put all the tapes with no reason on the shelf right now.
Well, it was probably, a Sunday morning when all the Friday night and Saturday night videos have come
Were
back. And
returned,
the workers
right.
are exhausted and just throw them wherever they
All
wanted
mixed
to.
up. And so why was Shield called? Because she broke into the Blockbuster. How did they show up? What was that about? I'm like, what? Why are they here? Any news?
I'm gonna
What?
say because the security guard that she talked to outside called it in, and she seemed weird.
But why Shield? Why not just
Yeah.
the cops?
All of a sudden,
Maybe-
Nick Fury shows up and Agent Coulson. I'm like, why?
If it's Shield,
were they keeping
maybe
track
they
of
were-
her?
Well, maybe they were listening in on, conversations, picked up this phone call from the security guard that was like, oh, this sounds like a job for Shield, and just showed up.
Yeah, I
Or
know.
maybe
It's a
they-
comic book.
Maybe
just
they
go with
actually
it.
tracked the fact that she entered from outer space.
Wow, Nick, you could go back to your party now.
Nick,
You're
nothing
free-
you
you're
said
freezing,
came
Nick.
through.
could
use it.
That's what we
Okay.
heard. That's what we heard. And the DH
Wow.
Sam Jackson looks so good. Oh my gosh. He
Nothing
looks so
else
good.
thinking,
Agent Coulson,
I'm
not so much.
frozen.
Nick,
Awesome.
give it up. I thought Sam
So it's
Jackson looked
better-
good, but
It's
A
better
little.
content than most weeks then.
what?
He's gone.
I
You
actually did not like
Sam,
it.
you thought Sam
thought-
Jackson?
I thought Sam Jackson, his face looked good and younger, but it
No,
didn't really
I'm so-
look
I'm-
like him.
I'm still here. Can you guys hear me now better without the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit better.
Can
You
hear
look
me?
younger though, just like Sam Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
who the
it
hell
was-
that picture is.
This is the
Um,
this is the de-aged version of me.
But Agent Coulson looked like he had too much Botox.
I thought Sam Jackson looked weird too. I thought he looked a little funky. It didn't look like him
I
to me.
liked it.
Didn't
I
look
liked
like
him. a lot.
him.
And I'm sorry, the 1990s jokes just got tiresome for me. I'm like, okay, we get it. It's the 90s. Ha
en-
ha. She got a
I
big
enjoyed
computer.
the soundtrack. The
I
soundtrack
thought it
was
was
good.
adorable.
Yeah,
I thought it was
funny.
adorable. I
Yeah.
thought, where were your radio communication devices and the Radio Shack? I thought that
Of
was
course.
adorable.
At the
Yeah.
end, when they were watching the CD load and
Oh my
all the ads are
God.
like, oh, come on. That was funny. That was funny.
And you heard the modem sound at one time. I thought it was all very
Yes.
cute.
Yes.
And how does Fury's beeper work in a bunker, Archie? It's a
It
beeper.
works. Well, at the end of the movie, it works across, galaxies. So
Yeah. All right.
Galaxies that are being
And-
dusted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did the cat get into this government facility?
It's not a
Birkin.
cat, it's an alien.
it was Annette
How did he
Bening.
get in?
Annette Bening had him. You watched when they show the scene with Annette Bening, the cat was there in her memories from years ago. So
Right.
I'm going to say that because she's a Kree, an alien, she brought the cat with her from outer space. So go with that.
And how does the cat know exactly where Fury and Marvel are going to go and shows up there? And then why did they bring the fucking cat to outer space?
He's
No,
stowed
he's stowed
away.
away. Stowed away.
It was a stowaway.
Oh, I missed that part.
They
You were
said
fast
it's a
forwarding.
stow. We have the
That's-
stowaway.
Fast forward a movie.
And then they had the perfect cat-sized muzzle to put on the cat to keep me out.
Yeah.
Because they knew the cat was going to be on board. And if I'm sorry, I'm cranky today. If the Tesseract
Okay.
was around this long, why wait 25 years to try and collect it? Hello? Right? If they knew about it in 1995.
Yeah.
Maybe other races did look for it and we didn't see it.
But they knew about it in 1950 in the 50s with Captain America.
Right, right.
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 So I guess it like went down with Captain America, but Annette Bening found it.
In the 90s.
No, in one of the flashbacks, Joel maybe help out here, but it showed when they went down looking for Captain America, they found it.
Yeah.
Howard Stark found it.
Howard Stark found it in
Yeah.
Captain America,
In the
and
Ford.
they put it somewhere safe, wherever that was. It's probably in that giant warehouse with the Ark of the Covenant and whatever else the crack is in there. And then Annette Bening must have found it at some point because
Okay,
she's doing all this government work and put it in her machine.
so in what period was it on Asgard then?
The Tesseract?
Yeah.
Only
when
after
did- when did
Avengers
they
1.
get-
Yeah, not until after Avengers 1.
That's
So
when they got
It's
it.
after Annette Bening,
Yes.
after
Yes.
this movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, two things I did very much like, her bonding with the girlfriend, I don't know her name,
Marie?
one who was the mother of the first Captain Marvel, fourth,
The James
third,
Bond.
fifth. Yeah, that was kind of nice, the, girl power and all that. And when they unveiled her true powers, that was pretty neat. That was pretty neat. But if she is all powerful, then what is her kryptonite?
Agreed.
The grid?
I agree. It seems
Somebody
odd to have
stronger.
a character that is just the most powerful thing and you can't
Right.
stop her.
Well, think about it. So both her and the Scarlet Witch their powers are from one of the Infinity Stones, which is why they're, at least for these movies, they're being shown as being really, really powerful.
Right, so she
So-
got hit with whatever she got hit with that gave her this.
It's like
Right.
getting radioactive spiders to bite you and you get powers. So yeah,
Right.
she basically absorbed the Tesseract.
Right,
Right.
but Jude Law was like this far away. Why didn't he absorb any of it?
Because the blast didn't go in, it mostly went in her direction.
Didn't go in his direction.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky him. And Jude Law. I don't have anything else to say on that subject. That's it. Jude Law. Okay. So, okay, and then of course, like I've been complaining every single other time in every movie, is if Shield knew that Captain Marvel existed and even had her beeper number or whatever she gave him, how come we haven't seen her in the 20 movies before this one? Why didn't they
Because
call
they
her
ran-
anytime they were in trouble?
I can answer that. She says emergencies only at the very end. So only the biggest emergency, which is why you saw at the very end of Infinity War, he took out the beeper and contacted her because he knew.
Oh, he was beeping her.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the whole end scene.
Ah,
And she's been in outer space all this time.
Yeah.
And that's why when you watch the very end, I think it's the very end scene, which I know, Frank, you want to talk about anyway, she answers the beeper. So when you're 9 galaxies away, even with her, it takes a few days to show up.
to get the message.
Yeah.
Took 20
Well, and to
movies
travel.
and 10 years to get to her.
Yeah.
All right, so like last week's movie, I'm a little meh on this one. And it was fun to see the earlier characters we already know. The script doesn't make this origin story very entertaining for me. It's understandable that they wanted to mix stuff up and do a different structure than the other movies, but I felt like at the end of the day, we see her and she's someone who doesn't remember her past and doesn't know the full use of her powers. And in the movie, she remembers her past and she has her full powers. What kind of arc is that? I was like, So again, I say meh from me. And the only reason I was even invested was because I enjoyed the character. It was fun. And, I was rooting for it to be more interesting than it was. I think the story just kind of let her down for me. That is my review. 2.5 stars from Frank Gaffney.
Wow.
Amy, you called it.
I did.
It was for me. Maybe I was in a cranky mood and I didn't really enjoy it, but
Which is exactly what Janice said last night too, Mark. She's like, I'm in a bad mood. I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
oh, that's funny. All right, so me and Janice both say 2.5 stars. Annie, what did you think?
I like a good adventure movie. I thought it was good. I like, the backstory, how she came. So as a creation story, it was fine with me. I also like the 90s references. I always like flashback kind of things, and that was cute. Like, I totally figured out Radio Shack before he even pointed to it. I was like, oh, Radio Shack. I love hiding the Tesseract in the Fawn's lunchbox was hysterical. And that was really fun. It confused me a little because she was Kree and then there was Ronan and, the other character that was on the ship. So I was like a little confused for a little bit there. Like you said, the storyline was kind of a little bit. So for me, it was 3.25, 3.25. I like a good adventure. I thought it was good, but I like others better. It wasn't the worst one, but I like others better. There were nice, cute parts. I like the way that they got Veers because that was the only part left of her badge from Danvers. That I figured out in the beginning too, but it was cute.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't the worst one, but for me, it just didn't engage me. And again, I feel like it's the same thing I said last week about how after Infinity War, how can we watch this movie? That's how I felt.
But you just want to get
Yeah,
to the
let's
next
just-
one
yeah,
already.
This is
Yeah.
wasting our time. Just wasting our time. Aim?
But I did like the fact that it gave you a little bit background on Nick Fury, and how like he lost his eye, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So it answered a couple of questions.
Yeah. I felt too that there she was like asking him a question just so we could find out more about him. It was a little contrived for me. Aim.
Well, this movie has a cat. So
Ah.
it
I knew it.
Flirkin.
4
right.
stars.
cat flirkin.
Flirkin.
Already gets 4 stars at 4 stars.
4
I like
paws. 4 paws.
4 paws. I went into this movie knowing I would not like it at all. I read the reviews, but then I read in the trivia that this movie was the reason why Rotten Tomatoes stopped allowing people's reviews, non-professional reviews, be published before the movie even comes out, because people were just being assholes for the sake of being an asshole. And the fact that it got a 45, it did not, I didn't think it deserved it, and all the hate it got on IMDb, I thought it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. So I was very pleasantly surprised, and I give it a solid 3.25 stars. I agree that the story was not that, to me, it was more the parts than the sum of the parts that I enjoyed. Some of the humor, I laughed out loud 3 times, and I will tell you what they were. Why would I turn myself into a filing cabinet? Oh my God, that was great. When the cat meowed when the flirkin meowed after all the, the tentacles came out, I thought, okay, the cliched cat meow, just like the dog's whimper, you always hear that. But then when Marie went, okay, that cracked me up. And oh shoot, there was something at the end that really made me laugh. Oh, it was in the post credits. So we will discuss the post credits later. So I loved the Skrull guy and how we fell in love with him after being the most horrible people in the universe. They're really not. They just want to go home, and how everything flipped and the blue guys were the bad guys, the Kree were the bad guys. I enjoyed it. So there you go.
Joel.
I like the movie, and I'm also going to give it 3.25 stars. It's not my favorite. This is actually only the 3rd time I've seen it. Which sounds like a weird thing to say about any movie, but
Yeah. This was only my first time seeing it. I don't
Right.
think
This
there'll
was
be a
only
second
Frank's
time.
last time seeing it.
This is my last time seeing it.
this is last time I've seen it. There's something about the first half of the movie, and maybe it's the exposition, because there's a lot of it. Maybe
lot
it's
of
the
it.
way it unfolds. I'm not sure what. I can't really put my finger on it, but it drags for me a little bit in spots, and I'm not putting my finger on it, Frank.
I didn't think it dragged at
And
all. I was
I like-
surprised.
There's just something about it that I tune out. It's hard for me to concentrate, but once you get past the first hour, something kicks in for the movie, and I'm like completely engaged and enjoying.
Yeah, but that first hour could have been
and,
45 minutes.
Sure, but it was what it was.
Did you see how many
Um,
deleted scenes there were?
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did
yeah.
cut it down.
Yeah, they already cut it down, so
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I just wish
I
they were
like-
more.
I like that the idea that they were trying to structure an origin story in a different way, and
Yeah.
and that works. For me, I'm just not sure if it works entirely for the overall structure of the film. One of the things that struck me watching it this time is that there's a lot to Captain Marvel that is kind of analogous to Green Lantern in the DC universe. It's the space story and the Star Force and some things like that. And this was a much better way of telling that kind of story than DC did with Green Lantern, which I liked. It's like Green Lantern should have been more like this movie than vice versa. But it's again, like one of you said, it's not the worst, it's not the best. It's somewhere in the middle. I enjoyed it. I'll watch it again. I feel like I need to see it again to really kind of figure out what it is about that first part of the film that I'm not engaging with for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I don't need to
So,
see it again. Thank you.
Yeah, we gathered that. Hang on one second. What?
Are you gonna
My wife is here
notes?
giving
I
me
was
feeding
wondering
things
who
in
was
my.
whispering.
Hi, Natasha.
like, I hear whispering.
Remind me of remind me of what do you want me to say? Okay, she'll put them in the comments. Never mind.
She probably had some
actually
girl
wanted-
power comment.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I think you pissed her off. I'm gonna leave it at that so that Mark can go and we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I mean, you took up Nick's time, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I
Yes.
realize it. All
All
right.
I'd love to know what Nick thought of it. Nick, posted
I
in
have the
comments.
answer. I have
Oh,
the
okay.
answer.
Okay.
Nick is texting me.
somebody.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Good.
Nick is
Go with
texting
Nick
me.
first.
Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
I said go with Nick first.
Yeah.
How many stars, Joel?
3 1/4.
Yeah, 3 1/4.
Okay. Okay.
Trying to grow my beard in the next minute here to play Nick, but
Do it in the British accent.
no, not doing that. Nick votes 3.6. Fun movie once you get past the confusing opening and it sets things up well for Endgame. Those are his comments.
6, wow.
Mhm.
And what
I
does
know.
Mark Gartner say?
I'm
Natasha
going
just
through-
agreed with Nick.
Mhm.
Nice. And I'm going only a touch lower. I'm going 3.5 stars. I feel like I'm repeating myself from last week with Ant-Man. It's a 3.25 star movie, and I'm going 3.5 for the same exact reason. I was really entertained. You guys have pretty much already said what I was going to say. Not the best, not an Oscar-worthy movie, and the writing wasn't great. But it was a fun ride. And I think, Joel, you just said the first half, I maybe I wouldn't describe it as much as you. I was still more engaged, but it was a little slow. And like Frank said, even I watched it 3 times now too. It's my 3rd time. And Frank, you said when they go to the dust planet, as you said in the beginning, the first mission, I've seen it 3 times, and I'll be honest, I'm still like, wait, what's going on? I thought Brie Larson
Fast
was.
forwarding is what's going on.
Oh, but you know, it's so funny because now I'm remembering that opening in the Dust Planet. When Frank, when you were talking about it, I was like, I don't even remember what you're talking about. So yeah, I could have fast forwarded too. If I don't
Oh my
remember
gosh.
it.
Yeah, it
I was
doesn't
like,
really
let's
do much
move
other
on
than
with it.
it introduces you to the Skrulls and to Ben Mendelsohn's character. Who, yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. To me, he stole the movie. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's what the Dark Elf should have been, or what, like when we said, like you have this
Right,
character
yeah.
there that was just boring. He was the opposite. He was great. And for me in the comics, the Skrulls definitely were painted in a much nicer manner for this movie. They're playing the victim, but in the comics, the Skrull and the Kree. I mean, they are both mortal enemies, but no one is necessarily good or evil. They're both one.
Yeah, but they have like 25 years to become mortal enemies again.
No, I was reading before this movie took place. So I was reading the comics in '88.
No, I mean 1995, and then today, it's a whole different Kree, if you will.
if you will. Just the Marvel movie formula works for me at this point. Anything they throw out is I like, and it does make me think though. If I can go back to the beginning, I think I only gave Iron Man 1 3 stars. I'm giving this 3.5 stars, and I don't know that that's fair. But for rewatchability, to be honest, I would probably rewatch this one over Iron Man 1 simply because it's a little bit more action in it, which is better.
Well, I think also you've seen it less than Iron Man 1. So
Yeah.
there's that.
There is that.
This is Mark. If I could turn back time.
That's it for me. I'm pretty quick this week. Yeah.
And
I thought it was interesting that we never really see, we never see Captain Marvel's full power. And I looked until 90 minutes into the movie. And they don't really even explain what her powers are. She just goes ahead. It felt like with other characters, you could see everything that they can do. And this one is just like
Just think
flying
pure energy, basically. I mean, just a lot of
Yeah.
it, which I guess makes her entire body that powerful that she can fly and breathe in space and all that stuff.
It
And
feels like
does
she
that-
just needs
does-
to come. It feels like
and-
she just needs to come into the next Avengers movie and take over for everybody and just
Yeah.
do everything.
Well, that's what a lot of
Spoilers.
fan. Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
No, I was just telling Amy those are spoilers. Don't.
Oh, so she's gonna just take over and do it all.
and obviously
what
it does that to her hair.
A lot of fans had said that or maybe it was actually Marvel that said, had they introduced her earlier, yeah, she would have just beat Thanos, so it wouldn't have been a fair fight or whatever you want to call it. So that's why
Right.
they kind of hung back and let her, probably the most powerful one, come in at the very end to help save the day. Perhaps.
And of all the celebrities that have been in these movies, I mean, Jude Law and Annette Bening, for me, I'm like,
They They were odd choices to me.
And I don't even
Brie
think
Larson
either,
was an odd choice.
I don't think either of them did that great a job. I'm like, okay,
But I think at this point, it winds up being, hey, I get to be part of the MCU.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be back later. Maybe I won't, but I've
yeah.
left a mark in some way,
And they were like, what British actor have we not used so far?
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
Jude Law.
Seriously.
He's been in a lot of these kind of movies.
So now they just have to get Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman as all of their characters in one movie, so they can have all the Sherlocks and Watsons in one place.
Ah, that's funny.
And did the newbies catch that, when they have their little space helmets that they just touch and it goes on? It's the same thing that Peter Quill has, Star-Lord. It's like the same, it's Kree technology.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
And then both,
Get
and you
that.
saw both, you said Ronan and then the other one, Korath, I think his name is.
Korath.
They were both back in it alive, obviously, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Aim, we're gonna have to watch them all over again so we can get all these nuances.
Honestly, today, after seeing this one in particular, since this one takes place after Captain America, I thought someday I would love to have the time to now watch it in chronological
Chronological.
order.
Well, I mean, besides those two, there's not much that's different. You would just,
No,
What,
there's a
right?
couple of other oddballish things, but like you wind up watching both Guardians of the Galaxy movies essentially back to back. And I think there's one other flip. It's either like Ragnarok and Black Panther get flipped around or something like that. I'd have to look at the list. I don't remember.
to be
But-
chronological.
Yeah. I
So
know
we wouldn't
that-
have changed that much.
No, the major thing is it removes one of the meh aspects of the space between Infinity War and Endgame. So the
But
other
not-
thing you could do is move Ant-Man and the Wasp to just before Infinity War, and
Right.
then you just watch
Which
those
does
two back.
not remove the space between Mark's ears.
Yeah.
All right, so post-credit sequence. This is a nightmare? What is that? Why did I write this is a nightmare?
This is a nightmare.
That's what I wrote. This is a nightmare. I don't know why I wrote that. Captain Marvel shows up in the present looking exactly as she did the day she left 1995. And then the cat spits up the Tesseract. And the cat is spitting up on Fury's desk, right?
Yes.
How did he get it? Swallow it? Why is he on his desk? I'm a little confused here.
What?
Or is this later? We're gonna find out. The cat
We
show
saw
up
him
again?
swallow it in the movie.
And
You fast forward the entire movie
I guess I did.
Really?
when they were in outer space with all the Skrulls,
Right.
and then the Kree showed up
Right.
and
Right.
the cat
Right.
swallowed it.
And so why is he spitting it up on Fury's desk? Why
That's what
not?
cats do.
Anyway.
Cats spit up hairballs. So do Flurkins.
All right, so
That's
Aim, you
right.
had a Flurkin comment?
I laughed out loud when they did the cat sounds that we've all heard who owns cats of the barfing. And then it came out all glowing and beautiful on top of some liquid. It was just so funny to me.
Because you've seen this happen.
Every day.
All right, any more comments from anybody? Next week we're on Endgame, which should be the end of it, but it's not. Phase 3, the end of Phase 3. We have a coda, I guess, after that. And I've seen Endgame actually, and it's streaming on Disney Plus. It's the final chapter. Oh no, it's not the final chapter of Phase 3. Okay, are we good? Anybody have any final comments?
No, just for you and for Amy, just as a reminder, just plan ahead because Endgame is a full 3 hours. I
3
think the two-
hours, I know.
Full 3.
Yeah,
So
but it's
take a
not
break.
like they're going to the theater to watch it.
Yeah.
No,
know,
but they watch it on the day of sometimes, and so if you don't
Oh,
plan
that's
accordingly,
true.
you may be rushing to meet
Yeah,
our Zoom
yeah.
time on Monday morning.
Monday morning.
Yeah, that last 40 minutes is like, oh, good Lord. Okay, that's it. I'm Frank Gaffney, and see you next week.
Bye.
Yeah.